everybody. Today we're going to start learning about specific types of polygons, and today is all about triangles. So hopefully by the end of the lesson today you're going to be able to classify triangles. So again, I've included the Unlock the Problem for you, and this is a one that is specifically close to my heart because I absolutely love Disney World. And what they've included here is a close-up of what it looks like on Epcot Center's Spaceship Earth building. So if you've ever been to Disney and if you've gone to Epcot and you've gone on the Spaceship Earth ride, you know what it looks like from the outside. It's a pattern of triangles. And it looks basically like this, okay? So the triangle that's outlined in the pattern has 3 congruent sides and 3 acute angles. So we want to decide what type of a triangle that is. Now, the way mine printed out, does really not show the triangle too well, so I'm going to overlap it with some pink. And hopefully, if you guys printed it out, you probably can't see it too well either, but if you're using your textbook, you should be able to see it just fine. Okay, so that is the triangle that's outlined. Okay, so in order to learn how to classify this, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the different types of triangles, and we're going to decide what it is about those triangles that makes them what they are. So first things first, the equilateral triangle. It's the easiest one, I think, to remember because it has the prefix equi here, and that sounds like equal, right? So when you hear the word equilateral, you should be thinking about equal anyway. So an equilateral triangle has all 3 sides equal and all 3 angles equal. So an equilateral triangle has 3 congruent sides. So if you're trying to classify a triangle and you notice that it has 3 congruent sides, it's called an equilateral triangle. By the way, I'm so sorry, but this side of the chart here is classifying triangles by their sides, and this side is classifying them by their angles. We can do it both ways. Okay? Next, an isosceles triangle. I don't know if you guys talked about isosceles triangles in the past, but it's a funky word. Isosceles. How many congruent sides does an isosceles triangle have? Well, if you look at these, we see the 2 dashes, we see 3 and 3, and this one is 2. So an isosceles triangle has 2 congruent sides. So far, if it's got 3 sides equal, that's an equilateral triangle. If it's got 2 sides equal, it's called isosceles. And finally, we've got our scalene triangle. Another funky word. Scalene triangle is what we call triangle when it has no congruent sides at all. None of the sides are equal. So every side is different than the other. As you can see, 5, 4, and 3. So it's got 0 congruent sides. So one way we can classify triangles is by their sides. So if they have 3 equal sides, it is called an equilateral triangle. If it's got 2 congruent sides, it's called isosceles. And if none of the sides are equal, we call that scalene. The other way we can classify triangles is by looking at their angles. Okay, so my personal favorite triangle is a right triangle. A right triangle has 1 right angle, and that's indicated by the cute little square in the corner. And this is going to be one of the most important things that you learn, and it's going to carry over into all of your other math classes. So make sure you know your right triangle. Make sure you know that that little corner means that it's a right angle. And if you don't already know, make sure you write somewhere that a right angle equals 90 degrees, because that is super duper important. Okay, and it's indicated by this little box in the corner, right? It's the only time you're going to see a different shape than this when looking at angles. So a right angle has one 90-degree angle or right angle. Okay? The next type of a triangle is called an acute triangle. And what I want you to remember out of that is cute, right? I'm sure when you first learned about angles, you heard that somewhere. But when you think of cute, we think of little or small, right? Usually. So if you remember from whatever it was that you learned about angles for the first time, acute angles are less than 90 degrees. And the reason why we think about the word cute is because generally when you think about something cute, you most of the time are thinking of something small, like a teeny tiny little kitty or a teeny tiny little puppy, right? So an acute angle is less than 90 degrees. So it's small. They're smaller than 90 degrees. So an acute triangle is a triangle that has 3 acute angles. There are 3 angles that are less than 90 degrees. 75 is less than 90, 75 is also less than 90, and 30 is less than 90. Okay, so an acute triangle has 3 acute angles, right? And finally, we've got our obtuse triangle, okay? So the obtuse triangle is a triangle that has 1 obtuse angle. So the opposite of acute is obtuse. Okay, and I'm probably going to post a silly meme about this, but an obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees. Okay, so it's the opposite of the acute triangle. Okay, so it's greater than 90. There can only be 1 obtuse angle in a triangle. And the reason for that is because inside of a triangle is 180 degrees all total, right? A triangle only has 3 sides. So if one of them is already greater than 90, if we have another one that's already greater than 90, we're not going to have an angle that's small enough that will actually add up to the 180 degrees. So you can only have 1. So that's why it says an obtuse triangle has 1 obtuse angle. So to summarize, to classify your triangle by the measure of the angle, if you have a right angle, it's called a right triangle. If we have 3 cute little angles that are less than 90, then we call that an acute triangle. And if we have a triangle that has 1 ginormous angle that's greater than 90, which is called an obtuse angle, then we call the triangle an obtuse triangle. Okay, so that's how we can classify our triangles. So let's just fill out this bottom section here. The type of the triangle that's outlined in the pattern in the Epcot spaceship Earth can be classified by the length of the sides as, so again, it told us it has 3 congruent sides and 3 acute angles. So the 3 congruent sides would tell us by its sides that this is an equilateral triangle, right? It's got 3 congruent sides. And if we wanted to classify it by its angles, they're telling us it has 3 acute angles. All 3 of those angles are less than 90 degrees. So it would also be an acute triangle. Ta-da! Okay, so let's move on with our lesson. I included this up here in case anyone's able to do it on their own. I do not have a protractor at home. I'm not sure if anyone happens to have one, but if you'd like to, if you have a protractor and you'd actually like to do this, I believe that you can actually print out some kind of a manipulative to use as a protractor. If you really wanted to do this, you can measure the sides of each of these, the lengths of each of these sides, and then you can also use the protractor to measure each of the angles, and then you can classify it. Okay, so if you'd like to try that, you may go ahead. I don't have a protractor at home, so I'm not going to do that. but we are going to do the share and show. I think I included, yes. So I'll do the share and show with you, and then you guys are going to do the on your own. Okay? So for the share and show, we're going to classify each one, and we're going to classify it first by its sides and then by its angles. So the first one, we can see the sides. I've got 11 feet, 12 feet, and 14 feet. If all three of the sides are different, that means that there's no congruent sides. So what type of a triangle has no congruent sides? Is it isosceles, scalene, or equilateral? It's scalene. This is a scalene triangle. I'm going to write it up top here for you. Isosceles has 2 congruent sides, scalene has no congruent sides, and equilateral has all 3 sides the same. Okay? So this is scalene, and now let's check out these angles. I don't have any right angles. I would know that because it would either say 90 degrees or it would have a box in the corner. So it's not a right angle. And let's see if it's obtuse. Are there any angles here that are greater than 90? Nope. But all 3 of these are less than 90, so they're 3 cute little angles. So this is an acute triangle. So this triangle is scalene and it's acute. So next, hopefully you can tell right away looking at this what kind of a triangle this is. I've got 1, 2, 3 equal sides. That's an equilateral triangle. And now we're going to look at the angles. 1, 2, 3. It's not telling you what the measurements are. However, you can tell that they're all less than 90, right? Because just off to the side real quick, this is 90-degree angle, right? Less than 90 is going to be anything that's a little bit less than that. Obtuse angles are very obvious because they're way more than 90, okay? So this is acute. They're all 3 acute little triangles. See? Angles, I meant to say. And just to let you know, cute little hint for you since we're talking about cute things. Anyway, an equilateral triangle will always have acute angles. And that's because in order for all 3 angles to be equal, they have to be equal to 60 degrees, which is less than 90. Fun fact. All right, last one. I've got 2 sides that are equal, and the third side says 3 centimeters. So that means only 2 of the sides are equal. So that would be isosceles. Isosceles. I had to think about how to spell that for a second. And angles, I have 29. Okay, and then these are not given, but you can see that they're less than 90. So it's acute. All 3 of them are acute little angles less than 90. And again, when in doubt, if you are not 100% sure how to tell if it's less than 90, just remember this little picture here. This is a 90 degrees. This is less than 90, and this is greater than 90, okay? All right, so to finish up today's lesson, I'm going to have you guys do these 3 on your own, okay? Come back to check, and we'll talk about it, okay? Okay, for number 4, looking at the sides first, you can see that there's 2 equal sides, 3.5 and 3.5. That makes it isosceles. And then looking at the angles, I can see that I've got this one angle that's greater than 90. 126 is greater than 90, so that's obtuse. For number 5, none of the sides are equal, so that tells me it's scalene. And again, I have one angle that's greater than 90 degrees, and that tells me it's obtuse. For number 6, we finally get to deal with a right triangle. They asked us to circle the figure that does not belong and then explain why. So what I see is that this first triangle is a right triangle, and the last triangle is a right triangle. And again, I can tell that because of this little box in the corner. Okay, and usually right triangles stand out because they do have this L shape that's formed by that right angle. Okay, so the figure that doesn't belong is my little triangle in the center, which you can hopefully tell is an equilateral triangle. and it doesn't belong because it's not a right triangle and the others are. Okay, so I hope you guys have fun working with your triangles today. Polygons can be kind of fun, so I hope you enjoy.